Good afternoon to all. Welcome. Sir, we are starting.
Okay.
Sorry for
Good.
it's
No,
always happening. Every time it is starting with that problem only. But now, welcome to all of you. I'll request Dr. Bhakti to kindly introduce the speaker.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible, sir?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I take this opportunity to introduce our today's speaker, who is associated with almost all the associations in Goa, many of which he has led with great success. Shri Mangiresh Pai Raikar. Mr. Mangiresh loves to share his knowledge and provide education to the deserving underprivileged. Even in the most critical moment of his life, he would come out to lend a hand to the needy. He is well known for his association with the School for Disabled Children and Old Age Home. He started the first school of agriculture and then a community college which provided opportunity for the Goan youths to gain knowledge of agriculture in the state of Goa. Sir's leadership qualities are reflected by seeing his affiliation with almost all the associations in Goa. He was the president of Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, chairman of Goa Management Association, Green Triangle Society, Bharat Scouts and Guide, and many more. Sir had the privilege of being nominated as the vice chairman of MSSIDC, that is the Maharashtra Small Scale Industries Development Corporation Limited. Sir is a first generation entrepreneur who committed himself to hard work. With his disciplined lifestyle, he made a mark for himself in the manufacturing sector. He rose to the national level, being today's a senior managing committee member of ASOCHAM, that is the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, which is a prestigious industry and trade association, and also chairing its national MSME Council, that is the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Sir is currently a member of the National Executive Council Committee of FICCI, that is the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Sir is a recipient of several awards, and to name a few, he received the National Award for Excellence in Entrepreneurship in the year 1988 and Manager of the Year Award in the year 2002. Sir has served as a member of the State Sales Tax Advisory Committee, State Labor Advisory Committee, Labor Welfare Board, Sports Authority of Goa, Entertainment Society of Goa, and various other boards. He is an acclaimed trainer and has unique distinction of being an Indian to conduct training for SARC Academy, that is the South Asian Association for Regional Corporation in Sri Lanka. Sir is an entrepreneur, faculty in management, mentor to several budding entrepreneurs and students, academician, philanthropist, author, column writer, director, and the list goes on. With this brief introduction, on behalf of the institution's Innovation Council of Goa University, I welcome Shri Mangiresh Pai Raikar to this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhakti, for beautiful words.
Welcome, sir.
I'm overwhelmed. So let us discuss a very important topic today. Startup has got a very important connotation, and our Honorable Prime Minister has specifically taken pains to promote this segment. And in last 5 years, India is known to be a hub for startups. We have had maximum unicorns coming up from this sector and making India a proud, name in the universe. However, when you start a startup, there are many things which you need to know and understand. All our young budding students, most of them have beautiful ideas to serve the society, to meet the needs of the society, and to come to the rescue of the needy people through their entrepreneurship. These bubbling entrepreneurs of tomorrow need to also understand what are the needs to be understood and followed before when you start this startup program. Successful startups are ones that are driven by passionate entrepreneurs who are focused on building unique solutions that deliver customer delight. While it is very important to have a strong focus on customers and the market, it is equally critical to have good understanding about basic laws, rules, regulations that are applicable for the smooth running of the business. From formalizing a founder's agreement to safeguarding intellectual property to enforcing business contracts, it is essential that entrepreneurs are aware and up to date with the latest laws governing their business and market. Friends, it is the ignorance of law is not an excuse. So you will not be let go if you fail to follow the rules and the regulations. Here are some important legal basics that startups and entrepreneurs in India should be aware before embarking on a business venture. First and foremost, you should know that before formalizing a business structure and founders agreement, it should be clear about the nature and the type of business that you are going to start. In fact, there are many types of business. To begin with, we have sole proprietorship, we have private limited, we have public limited, partnership, limited liability, and so on and so forth. It is very essential to have this clarity at the very beginning, as this would be the integral part to the business and your vision and goals, both short term as well as long term. Each business type comes with its own set of legal requirements and regulations, and businesses should pay special attention to them before incorporating the business. I would like to mention some of the salient features here of these different types of business. We have proprietorship, partnership, limited liability, and private limited company, which are the commonest of the types which are followed in India. In fact, in proprietorship, there is no formal registration required as such. But in partnership, the registration for partnership is must. And in limited life LLP as well as private limited, it has to be registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs or ROC, that is Registrar of Companies, under the Act. In LLP, it is Act 2008, as well as ROC Act is 2013, which is recently being redrafted. The legal status, in fact, for a proprietorship as well as partnership is not required as not recognized as a separate entity, and the promoter is personally responsible for all the liabilities. Whereas in LLP as well as private limited company, it's a separate legal entity, and the promoters are personally liable in this segment. In case of proprietorship or partnership, both the partners or the proprietors, there is unlimited liability of each of one of them. whereas there is limited liability to the extent of contribution towards the LLP or to the extent of share capital in terms of private limited company. Number of, of course, proprietor, just one member can start proprietary. Today, the new law stipulates that even one person can start a company, but minimum two persons are required to start LLP or partnership. The taxations are almost the same. In individual case, sole proprietorship, it is taxed as individual based on the total income of the proprietor. Whereas in partnership, there is, their profits are taxed as per the slabs provided under the Income Tax Act. Surcharge says as applicable. Whereas LLP profits are taxed as per the slabs provided under the Income Tax Act. And the same case goes to the private limited company. There is no requirement of any statutory meeting for partnership or for sole proprietorship. But for a company, board and general meeting should be conducted. AGM has to be conducted for the private limited company. Annual filings are common to all. Proprietorship existence is dependent on the proprietor, whereas the partnership existence is dependent on the partners and can be dissolved at will or upon the death of the partner. Existence not dependent on partners can be dissolved voluntarily in case of LLP or by the order of the company law board. Whereas private limited company existence is not dependent on the directors or the shareholders, but can be dissolved voluntarily or by regulatory authorities. Foreigners are not allowed to be sole proprietors or to be the part of the partnership deed. Whereas foreigners are allowed to invest without approval of the Reserve Bank of India or the other applicable permissions for the relevant government of India authorities, depending on the category of business they are interested to invest, especially in the case of LLP or in the case of private limited company. Now, having said all this, thing, you can choose and pick whichever you are comfortable with, whether it is sole proprietorship or whether it is partnership, LLP, or private limited company. Because if you want to raise the funds, definitely, as I will come next, there are the entities which are recognized are better suited for the purpose. Now, the question comes that startup founders should be asking themselves is if they are looking to raise external funds, as I was saying, or to bootstrap their business, a private limited company is the best option for startups looking to raise funds, as it provides the required flexibility to manage external investments and company stock. Given how dynamic the startup ecosystem in India is, it is also advisable to draft a founders agreement. A founders agreement is essentially a document that specifies important details about the founding team and the business, such as roles, responsibilities, executive compensation, operational details, and exit clauses, among the others. The purpose of such an agreement is to reduce the possibility of surprises when the company is fully functional. Having a clear founders agreement with all basic details clearly laid out forms a solid foundation to start and scale a business. The agreement can also act as a go-to guide should the disagreements arise. Licenses are very, very integral part of any business and to running of any business. Depending on the nature and size of the business, several licenses are applicable in India. Knowing the applicable licenses for your startups and obtaining them is always the best way to start a business. The lack of relevant licenses can lead to costly lawsuits and unwanted legal battles. Business licenses are legal documents that allow a business to operate, while business registration is the official process of listing a business with official registrar. The common license that is applicable to all businesses are Shop and Establishment Act, which is applicable to all premises where trade, business, or profession is carried out. Other business licenses vary from industry to industry. For instance, e-commerce company requires additional license like VAT registration, GST registration, service tax registration, professional tax registration, etc. While restaurant may require licenses like food safety license, certificate of environmental clearance, prevention of food adulteration act, health trade license, etc., along with other statutory licenses. Then comes the taxes, which are part and parcel of every business. There are broad variety of taxes such as central tax, state tax, and even local tax, which include the panchayat tax that may be applicable for most of the businesses. Different business and operating sectors attract different taxes, and knowing this beforehand can prove to be useful. Recently, Government of India has launched Startup India initiative to promote startups and introduced many exemptions and tax holidays for startups and new businesses. According to this initiative, startups can avail income tax exemption for a period of 3 years, as well as tax exemption from capital gains and investment from fair market value. The conditions that startups need to qualify is in order to leverage these exemptions are that the startup should not be more than 7-year-old, or in case of biotech should not be 10-year-old from the date of incorporation, and that it is incorporated as a registered partnership, limited liability or company, or a private limited company. The turnover in any year should not exceed more than 25 crores. The startup should not have been formed by splitting or reconstructing an existing business. As far as the business accounting is concerned, it is a good hygiene to maintain proper books of account and audit them from time to time in order to ensure that relevant accounting and taxation rules are adhered to. Given the small size of business, many startups initially do not pay close attention to accounting requirements. However, this situation cannot be ignored for long, as it can lead to serious accounting discrepancies. Having a sound payment and invoicing system for customers is one part of ensuring a clear accounting system. If you are online business, then you have to take a look at the various payment solutions that ensure easy, effective, and secure payment solutions. Then comes the labor laws. Adhering to the labor laws is an integral part to every organization, small or big. When you are established as a company or have hired people to work for your organization, you are subject to several labor laws regardless of the size of the organization. Laws which regard to minimum wages, gratuity, PF management, ESIC, weekly holidays, maternity benefits, payments of bonus, among others, need to be complied with. It is best to consult a legal counsel to assess the laws applicable to your startup and ensure that your startup is compliant to the various required labor laws. And with regards to the labor laws, startup registered under the Startup India initiative can complete a self-declaration within 1 year from the date of incorporation in order to get an exemption from labor inspection. The 9 laws, labor laws under this scheme are the Industrial Dispute Act, the Trade Union Act, the Building and Other Construction Workers Act, the Industrial Employment Act, the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, the Payment of Gratuity Act, the Contract Labor Act, the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, the ESIC Act. Startups under this scheme will have to file self-certified returns for the second and third year in order to continue with the exemptions. Startup also often hires consultants or freelancers in addition to full-time staff. Hence, employee policies should cover all employment details with regards to employees, both full-time and part-time. Having a well-designed employee policy can be major differentiator for startups. An attractive employee policy can be the key to attract and retain good talents. Employee policy can also prove to be starting point for boosting employee morale and increasing productivity and to avoid the attrition at a later stage. Intellectual property is another aspect which need to be dealt with and to be looked very, very seriously. Intellectual property is the secret sauce for most businesses today, especially for the tech-centric businesses. Codes, algorithms, and research findings, amongst others, are some of the most common intellectual property owned by organizations. Startups can leverage the scheme for startups intellectual property protection under the Startup India initiative. The scheme is set up to nurture and mentor the innovative and emerging technologies amongst the startups and help in the protection and commercialization of intellectual property. For the effective implementation of the scheme, facilitators have been empaneled by the Controller General of Patents, Trademarks and Design. Such facilitators help startup by providing advisory services, assisting in patent filing and disposal of patent application, among other services, at a minimum charge. Complete details with regard to this scheme are available on the website. The Office of the Controller General of Patents, Design and Trademark controls all patents in India, and startups can all directly e-file their patents with them. Another very, very important factor for a new startup is to understand and know what is contract management. Contracts lie at the crux of running any businesses. The contract is required to ensure the smooth functioning of work and is a great mechanism to ensure recourse in case of non-fulfillment of work. Having basic knowledge about various aspects of contract management can prove to be useful for entrepreneurs. As per the Indian Contract Act 1872, all agreements are contracts if they are made by the free consent of the parties competent to contract for a lawful consideration with a lawful object and are not expressly declared to be void. Employee contracts are one of the most crucial aspects to be looked into while starting a venture. Founders many a time collaborate with their own trusted circle of friends in the beginning, and while this ensures a certain ease and efficiency to business operations, outlining and formalizing employee contract with details about salary, scope of work, stock options, with even the first few employees is always recommended. Having this clarity from the very beginning helps startups reduce risk at a later point in time. In the early stage of operations, startups also tend to hire contract staff and vendors, and having an effective contract management system will ensure that the right checks are in place for the timely fulfillment of required work. Another important contract that startup might find useful is to have NDAs. Startups often thrive in a crowded market with stiff competition, and they often discuss ideas with host of people from potential investors to employees to customers. While this is much needed for the growth of business, it exposes new startups to the risks like the theft of ideas, other proprietary business information being taken by others, or ideas that might have been shared in goodwill might be used inappropriately to the disadvantage of the business. Hence, to avoid such scenarios, non-disclosure agreements or NDAs need to be drafted and used by startups while discussing critical business information with people outside the organization. Last but not the least is winding up of the business. That also is a very important factor, my friend. Closing a company is difficult call to make for any, but when a startup decides to shut down, all the stakeholders from vendors to employees to customers and investors need to be informed in advance, and the whole process must be properly planned and executed in order to make the exit easy on everyone. From the legal standpoint, there are basically three ways to shut down the startups: fast track exit mode, court or tribunal route, or voluntary closure. Of all the three ways, the fast track exit mode is the best suited for startup as it allows companies to expedite shutdown at a lower cost and a shorter time period. In order to apply for a fast track exit, the company should not have any assets or liabilities or should not have had any business operations for the past 1 year. If these two conditions are met, the company can be struck off the register of companies. If you are looking for winding up the company via the fast track mode, you can get the details and the forms on the website. Another quick way for the company to shut down is through voluntary closure. However, this requires the shareholders and the creditors of the company to be on the same page with regards to the details of the closure. While it is an easy route, it might not always be practical or applicable at all times. The traditional mode of closure via courts or tribunals is not the best suited for startups as it involves several meetings with various stakeholders leading to prolonged court proceedings. In addition to the above stated means, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Bill 2015 is a new closure tool that entrepreneurs can use. Leveraging this bill requires startups to have simple debt structure where an insolvency professional is hired to liquidate the assets of the company within 90 days and in accordance to the Startup India Action Plan. If a startup does not wish to operate but also not shut down, it can apply to a dormant company that allows a company to stay afloat with minimum compliance. However, a company dormant for a period of 5 years is automatically struck off from the register of companies. Adhering to legal requirement is a very, very important for any organization, and knowledge and compliance to applicable laws is the first step to ensure smooth business operations. Hiring professional legal counsel to provide advice, oversee and maintain legal is one of the best ways to ensure that your company is always safe and does not face legal complications and consequences. Now let us come to the issue of following the ethical procedures. The purpose of a startup is to earn profit, but while earning profit, ethics should not be ignored. The startup should comply with the laws and regulations, and at the same time, it should not forget their duty towards the community, people, customers, and the company. The startup should not indulge in any kind of activity which may be detrimental to the interest of the customers. The startups should accept the feedback from the customers and should take care of the after-sale services and assist the customers in all ways. A startup can grow only with the help of satisfied and happy customers. The employees for a startup are as important as wheels of a car. Be it small or big employee, everyone's contribution is necessary for the proper growth and functioning of the startup. The startup should be legally as well as ethically giving regard to the rights of the employees. They should be given proper treatment, timely payment of salary and allowances. The startup should have a proper system of hearing the grievances of the employees, and it should also try to keep its employees motivated in order to maintain healthy growth of the startup. The startup should be careful that they obtain all the legal certificates, permissions, and permits from the government bodies, and they should not involve in any activity which may have negative impact on the environment. The employees in a startup should prioritize the interest of the startup rather than personal interest. All the employees should work together for the growth of this startup. The startup should be careful that they should not in any manner cause harm to the sentiments of the people, and they must follow proper pathway for the betterment of the society by keeping provisions of investing in social causes like education, food, environment, etc. Startups should be careful about the religious sentiments of the people also, especially while advertising. It would be wise for a startup or any other company to be well versed with the labor laws and the local laws, because when we are hiring some person to work for us, then we have several legal as well as ethical responsibilities towards that person, as there are several statutes which protect the rights of the laborers with respect to working hours, sexual harassment at the workplace, payment of wages, payment of bonus, etc. However, the new Startup India initiative, which was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015, exempts the startups from labor inspection. Since the launch of the Make in India initiative by the Narendra Modi government in September 2014, people have connected their patriotic sentiments with the Make in India campaign, and many businesses and startups could be seen using the Make in India logo on their products in order to market their products in the name of the country, and thus fooling the people. Back in 2016, a Noida-based company had announced a launch of a smartphone named Freedom 251 with exceptionally low cost, which gained attention all over the country. It came up with advertisements on the front page of the several local newspapers, which carried India's tricolor, and also showing that it is under Make in India. But later on, it was found that the company ended up merely as a scam. So the improper use of such marks or emblems is prohibited from use under the Emblems and Names Act 1950, which prohibits any person from using or continuing to use for the purpose of any trade, business, or calling or profession, or in the title of any patent, or in the trademark or design. Any name or emblem specified in the schedule, or any colorable imitation thereof without the previous permission of the central government or such officer of the government as may be authorized on his behalf by the central government. The startups should keep in mind that they should not use any marks or emblems or logo which is prohibited by law from use, and should not also try to fool the customers by using the certification mark without obtaining the certificates from the competent authorities. If any individual for any reason misrepresents any certification mark as registered in regard to the product or services, then he or she by the law is punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend from 3 years to a fine, and also with a fine or with both. The startup should avoid sale and promotion of food, beverages, health supplements, medicine, auto parts, clothes, beauty products, pirated software. The US Trade Representative Office's Notorious Market report has marked Snapdeal and Amazon for the sale of counterfeit products. The sale and promotion of such products are detrimental to startups' reputation and the manufacturer as well as the consumers. Now we have seen what is the need of knowing for a startup, the legal requirements, as also the ways to follow on a ethical path. However, there are still many more things which a startup may be required in various segments or sectors, especially in a health-related segment. There are more licenses which will be required from the perspective of the health department, etc. So we need to understand the requirement very properly before starting any startup or any enterprise. So with this, I will end my talk, and I will be very happy to answer any questions if anybody has. Thank you. Bhakti, you are there?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Any questions?
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for the lovely session. Participants, do you all have any question? Okay.
Then I would like to add. Before you start any venture, first and foremost, you should have a concrete idea with yourself, an idea which has to be converted into a commercial product, and that commercial product, when you have concretized with the process, procedure, and its market acceptability, then you can go further and make a beginning of this startup. Yes, somebody.
Roshan Nayak, please ask
Yes.
question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to know what kind of support is available from the Goa government to pursue startups, and because initially we need funding for prototyping work and kind of any support available from the government.
Yes, there are angel fundings are available. Then through EDC, there are a lot of products, financial products which are available. Also, the government subsidizes some of the approved projects for this case, as well as if it is a tech enterprise, then there is also incubation center available to begin with, so that you don't have to invest in your initial requirements.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can you give more idea about regarding the fundings available for the startups from
Yeah.
Goa government and Indian government?
Yeah, in fact, Goa government as well as central government promotes and subsidizes and supplements the startups in a very, very big way. Of course, the project and the proposal has to be accepted. There is a special startup wing itself of the Goa government, where you need to apply. It is if you just put startup Goa, I think the website will open up, and there is a format which is available where you need to apply it. You will be called for an interview. Of course, naturally, you will have to make a presentation. And if approved, then there are several shops which are available for the startup. Not only that, there are private investors. They are also angel investors, we call them, which are there, which are looking for investments in such enterprises. So if it is really what I should say, lucrative and looks to be attractive, they immediately fund for it. Recently, if you have known, there was a product called, there are several other things also where, there are competitions which are held for the startups where you need to go and pitch for it. And, there are people who are just waiting on the sidelines to be part of your project. And recently, there was one project from Goa which was marketing jackfruit products. And he is also into exports to various countries. He pitched for his product, and I understand that his entire project, almost to the tune of 80%, was bought up by the investors who were on the sidelines.
Sir, you are being from agriculture side and this industrial also, both linkage is there. There is a government of India is arranging that what is called food processing organization.
Yes.
FPO.
Yes.
And there is Make in India, startup, Skill India. Are these schemes exclusive or they are inclusive? Means if I want to apply, suppose I have something like fruity juice. So I want to apply through FPO and I want to apply through Make in India, or I want to get some support from both systems. Is it possible or it is exclusive?
No, it is exclusive. In fact, if you want to go for value addition to any agri product, then you should go for only food processing, because they are better schemes. under food processing, and they give you more, supplements in terms of money as well as in terms of other support system. They also help you in arranging, and assisting in exports, as well as, you see, basically you will need cold chains, you will need, all these things are available under the food processing ministry. So if you go under the food processing ministry, you can avail of various facilities which are available for, this project. And secondly, even the banks, help you out in the sense that suppose you need to purchase from the farmers the raw material, correct? So what they would do is, it's called as a factoring service. They would, you purchase, once you have given the confirmation that you have received such a product, the money is paid to the farmer, and then you process it. And when you process and you sell it, the money that comes from your sale comes to the bank, and then bank, takes the money which has been paid to the farmer. So you get additional funding on this count. So these are certain things, which are available. There are today, lot of benefits for finances, lot of benefits for marketing, and lot of benefits for exports are available for any agri food processing unit.
Sir, another question is related to the type of product.
Yes.
Suppose there is a product already existing in the market, and you are launching a similar product with a slight variation and slight application. So will that be considered as innovative and a startup for supporting from a startup, or no, that will be considered as only the relaunching of product from certain different and under different umbrella?
No, it depends, see, I will tell you one example. In auto components, there is something called as, those, where I fail to take the name. In fact, it is a small thing, but it regulates the flow of the fuel. Okay. Now this product used to be there for years together, but then there are innovations now come which reduce the use of fuel but giving better efficiency. Now that could be an innovation, although the product name would be remaining same. You get my point? But at the same time, he is giving better efficiency, better mileage, and if the cost is reduced, then fantastic. But this can be termed as an innovation. Now, these innovations are also subject to approval by the this patent department, or because you should not infringe on the rights of somebody else. So there are experts sitting there. So they would take into account whether this is really something which is value added, or it is almost the same, but he's trying to make it look different. So all these things are there, and there are experts, sir, where they would definitely look into it. And now most of the experts come from the academic field. Like you must have heard that for the bridges now, they use experts from IIT. So to supervise and to give a final NOC. So likewise, for production also, there are several agencies like from academia who does this certification part.
Mariska, please ask question.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. So in a part of your segment, you mentioned about foreigners and if they want to, establish a startup here.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to partner with Indian, but right now is presently having a citizenship of another country. So how do we go about with this kind of a situation?
You can start with an LLP. limited liability partnership.
All right.
So, but as a sole proprietor or a partnership, proper partnership, it will not be allowed.
Okay.
Because he holds the citizenship of another country.
Yes.
If he was just an NRI, then he could have been a partner. But there is another way out now for you. It is limited LLP, that is limited liability partnership. And if you want, I'll just read out to you 1 minute.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
Foreigners are allowed to invest in without the approval of the Reserve Bank of India. So this is allowed, okay, for investing in the local. You understand, no? You get
Yes.
my,
Yes.
yeah.
Understood, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
It is something like share basis.
Yeah, shares can be bought by foreigners. And share takeover is also possible because there are, see, a company, as a company, they can attract foreign funds for their growth, for their innovation, for their, additions, whatever. And in lieu of that funds, shares can be allocated to the person concerned.
Okay.
Anyone, any question, please ask. This is the best chance you have. He is the most experienced person in Goa in this field. So we got a chance to listen from him. Any more questions?
Sir, Goa is my base. So I am here for you anytime, any moment.
Komal?
So,
I think we can give the vote of thanks. Sir, to sir.
Frederick was
Yeah,
there,
yes.
no? I think Frederick was there.
Frederick is there. Frederick, no. Frederick, Dr. Frederick. He is there. Al.
Anything, Frederick?
Hello?
Yes? Hello, Frederick? Anything?
Some problem is there.
Uh-huh.
And sir, shall we?
Okay, no problem. We'll close, yeah.
Komal, please continue.
yeah, yes. Sir. So I would like to profusely thank Dr. Mangirish Pairaika for this engaging and intriguing session. It was truly an enlightening one where Sir shed light on salient features associated with startup ecosystem and different ventures and individuals can go about. Sir also spoke about basic requirements, rules, and regulations, as well as ethical procedures for initiating a startup. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. And we are very sure this will inspire many of us to convert our unique ideas into startup. I would also like to thank Professor Sandeep Garg, Director of DI3P, as well as Faculty Coordinator Dr. Bhakti Salgaonkar. Furthermore, I would also like to extend a big thank you to the participants for their active involvement. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We will have more session from you in coming days.
Sure.
Thank you to all. I am closing the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please fill the feedback forms